This week in Jamaica Now. Hand it over. A court gives a woman whose son was murdered in 2022 3 months to give the police access to her phone. Jamaica delays appointment of a new UWI Mona principal. The age group 25 to 44 accounts for most of Jamaica's criminals and victims of crime. And Jamaica joins the world in mourning the death of activist and singer Harry Belafonte. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. A Supreme Court judge has given Amoi Leon-Issa, the mother of slain 9-year-old Gabriel King, another 3 months to give the police investigators access to data in her cellular phone. The police have been trying for months to access the phone as part of their investigation into King's gruesome murder on January 13 last year. St. James Parish Judge Sasha Mary Ashley first granted the police a production order in September last year, compelling Ms. Leon-Issa to turn over communication and other data from her phone within 48 hours. A month later, Ms. Leon-Issa applied to the court for permission to seek judicial review of the decision. In a ruling on Wednesday, Senior Supreme Court Judge Lorna Shelley Williams said the production order was not ultra-vires and gave the businesswoman until July 31 to comply with the order. On the morning of January 13, 2022, Ms. Leon-Issa reported that she was slapped in the face and dragged from her vehicle by 2 men after she slowed down to navigate potholes while driving along the Tucker Main Road in Montego Bay, St. James. Hours later, the vehicle was found abandoned. Gabriel's body was found inside, beside a knife the police believe was the murder weapon. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says for the first quarter of this year, Jamaica recorded the lowest murder count for a first quarter in the last 7 years. He gave the update in Parliament during his sectoral debate presentation on Tuesday.
Since the start of this year up to April 22-23, murders committed in the country have been reduced by 17% compared to 2022. Overall major crime down by 20%. Madam Speaker, that decline you can see started in October of last year when we started to use sharply in November the strategic use of state of public emergency. Madam Speaker, my officers tell me don't overcommit ourselves. But look at the numbers, the effort of our police officers, their use of the modern tools available in terms of geospatial analysis and continuous recording, improved communication, and the quality training they are receiving. I would say to the country, if we're able to utilize the tool as we did in the early year, continued SOE for maybe 12 months to 24 months, I could take this police force, the men and women of Jamaica Consular Force, could reduce crime, murder, a crime is going on, by at least a third. That would be formed with lives saved.
And Dr. Chang has pointed to a recent police analysis, which he said shows that the main perpetrators of murder and their victims fall in the age group of 25 to 44.
This age group is not one that we try to send back to school. We have to deal with efficient and effective policing. When you look at the bar chart, it's almost a mirror image of the other. 25 to 44 is the group. Our social activism and transformation efforts, we want to go to those that are between 12 and 15 and 17 in particular. The 17 to 25 age group pose a particular problem which we have identified. They are not yet old enough. Most of them don't have children. They have no responsibility. They are fearless. And they are used by the gangs as the shutters. And that's a dangerous group, but we do think some of them can be rescued. It needs strong action. We have to, in fact, catch them without the firearm. And they are the ones who usually, when encountered, will begin to fight the police.
A vote on a recommendation for Professor Denzel Williams to be appointed principal of the financially struggling Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, UWI, has been delayed because of Jamaica's alleged discomfort with the choice. The University Council, the institution's highest governing body, was expected to approve Professor Williams at its annual meeting on Wednesday. However, following a lengthy discussion, a final decision was put on hold after Jamaica's Education Minister Favour Williams reportedly requested additional time to consult on the matter. Vice-Chancellor Sir Hilary Beckles tabled the recommendation. The delay is being seen as a show of courtesy to Jamaica because under the university's law that governs the appointment of principals, the principal shall be appointed by the council on the recommendation of the Vice-Chancellor. Professor Williams, who is an expert in international business and the current principal of the Five Islands campus in Antigua and Barbuda, was among 4 candidates shortlisted for the post. The others were climate scientist Professor Michael Taylor, the Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology at the Mona campus, Professor Lloyd Waller, the Executive Director of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, and an advisor to Jamaica's Tourism Minister, and Professor Agnes Deeb. 8 members of an interview panel of at least 11 persons reportedly voted for Professor Williams. Jamaica's Education Minister Favour Williams, who reportedly voted for Professor Waller, has not publicly said what her concerns about Williams are. 5 local civil society organizations have issued a call for the Constitutional Reform Committee to overhaul its engagement with Jamaicans, including making all its meetings public to improve transparency. The Advocates Network, the Jamaica Council of Churches, the National Integrity Action, the Institute of Law and Economics, and the Jamaica Accountability Meter portal issued a joint statement on the matter on Tuesday. They said the reform timetable should not be tied to plans for the next general election and the process of removing the British King as head of state. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, Information Minister Robert Morgan said the Constitutional Reform Committee will be enhancing its engagement with the Jamaicans amid calls for a more transparent process.
There is no interest in hiding anything from the people. The mere process of constitutional reform requires the public to make the decision. So the public is the one who is going to decide what we do. However, there are processes such as the drafting of bills that require discussion and dialogue with opposition, with others, and I know that there has been attempts to engage with the civil society groups and so on. So there's absolutely no fear or no... Sometimes I'm a bit fascinated listening to the conversations because the constitutional reform process is a public process. There has to be a referendum to determine whether we move from a constitutional monarchy to a republic, and you cannot go out and do a referendum without public education, without advising people as to what it means to become a republic.
The government says it's working to table a bill in Parliament for the removal of the British monarch as Jamaica's head of state next month. The committee says there is consensus for the president to be nominated by the Prime Minister, with Parliament to make the confirmation. The Health Ministry has reported that a case of Influenza A H1N1 was confirmed at the Mandeville Regional Hospital in Manchester on Thursday. Symptoms of the virus include fever, headache, cough, sore throat, runny and stuffy nose, muscle aches and extreme tiredness. Nausea, vomiting and diarrhea may also occur, but are more common in children. The ministry says persons who experience these symptoms should seek medical attention. Prime Minister Andrew Holness and opposition leader Mark Golding have hailed civil rights activist and humanitarian Harry Belafonte as a treasured icon. The 96-year-old barrier-breaking singer and actor, who was of Jamaican parentage, died on Tuesday of congestive heart failure. Speaking in Parliament on Tuesday, Mr. Holness said Mr. Belafonte was among the pioneers of Jamaica's cultural and creative industries.
He was breaking down barriers at a time when the society in which he lived still had laws that segregated people by race. So for him to have the biggest selling album at the time, to become the first black American to win an Emmy, well, the first black person to win an Emmy, to star in, to play lead roles in box office movies. He would have broken down barriers which we now walk over without recognition.
And Mr. Golding said Mr. Belafonte was a rare phenomenon given his achievements across multiple fields.
He was a great friend of Prime Minister Michael Manley, and his association with the People's National Party was always one of real cordiality, and we regarded him as an important friend of ours. But more than anything else, his legacy is one that the whole of Jamaica will benefit from for generations to come. He will continue his catalogue in music, and I dare say in film as well, will endure through the ages.
In 2018, Mr. Belafonte was bestowed with the Order of Merit, Jamaica's third highest national honor, for his outstanding contribution to culture. A section of the North Coast Highway is to be named in his honor. Overseas, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has dismissed a call for the government to apologise and pay reparations for the UK's historic role in slavery. The BBC has reported that a Labour MP asked if he would make a full and meaningful apology and commit to reparatory justice in Parliament. But the Prime Minister said no, adding that trying to unpick British history is not the right way forward. The UK government has never formally apologised for its role in the trade. The Atlantic slave trade saw millions of Africans enslaved and forced to work, especially on plantations in the Caribbean and the Americas. The British government and the monarchy were major participants in the trade, alongside other European nations. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on the notification and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, we hear from Jamaicans who participated in a town hall hosted by the Constitutional Reform Committee in St. James on Wednesday.
What is it that's wrong with independence that we see that we would be going to republic? Will be republic more proper for us as a people?
Ask the question, what really is a republic? And a republic is really an opportunity for, a republic is a state. A republic is a state where the people are supreme, they elect their representatives, and they are able to shape and frame the constitution for that representative democracy.
The Queen, I don't even know if she care, but who represent her, him get or she get appointed. Now, we are going through a whole lot of strain here to set up another higher appointed smuddy on top there.
King Charles is represented by the Governor General. And although King Charles really doesn't business with the Governor General, we have to pay to support the Governor General. The question is, do we continue to have our head of state as a representative of a foreign monarch? Two options, essentially. You vote directly, or you take another process. State responsibility exists whether PNP form government, JLP form government, or any other party that come along the way. And some things must be placed above the party politics. And that's why, having looked at the recommendation, we thought it's not a bad idea. In fact, if we don't make the change, we may never know what else needs to be done.